I remember one Sunday night. The city was vibrating, every window glowing blue, people shouting from balconies, horns echoing through the streets. The world was alive for football, but I wasn't. I sat on my couch, lights dimmed, scrolling through the celebrations with a strange kind of stillness inside me. No thrill, no spark, just calm. For a moment I wondered, what's wrong with me? Everyone seemed connected through excitement, and I felt like a quiet observer of the noise. Later I learnt there's a name for what most people feel in those moments. Sociologist Emil Durkheim called it collective effervescence, the emotional electricity that happens when millions of people share the same heartbeat. It's what makes a goal feel holy, what turns strangers into tribes. But for some of us, that surge never comes. We see the joy, the unity, the passion, and still, something in us stays still. Not because we're cold, but because our excitement is wired differently. Researchers at Cambridge University found that people less reactive to mass emotion often have stronger activity in the default mode network, the brain's posh responsible for reflection and creativity. Our dopamine doesn't rise with victory, it rises with understanding. It's not indifference, it's selectivity. For years, I pretended to care. I laughed at the right moments, nodded at names I didn't know, just to fit in. But pretending was heavier than honesty. One day, I said it simply, I don't watch, and that silence felt like freedom. Some people feel alive through excitement, others through peace. For me, it's never been about the noise, it's about what feels real. I've learned that not every moment deserves my energy, and not every celebration needs my voice. So if you've ever felt calm while the world was cheering, remember, you're not missing the game, you're just seeing it differently. That silence inside you isn't emptiness, it's understanding. Most people don't watch football just for the game, they watch it for what it makes them feel. It's not just about goals or scores, it's about that shared heartbeat, the rush of being part of something bigger than yourself. When strangers cheer together, laugh together, even cry together, there's a sense of unity that feels electric. For a moment, everyone forgets their differences, their problems, and becomes one voice. It's human nature we crave belonging, the feeling that we're part of a rhythm larger than our own. But for some of us, that rhythm doesn't quite reach us. The cheers, the noise, the energy it all passes through, but doesn't spark something inside. It's not that we don't understand the excitement. We do. We just don't feel it in the same way. Where others find connection in the crowd, we often find it in quiet, in thought, in observation, in meaning. The noise that energizes some can feel overwhelming to us, like standing too close to a fire that burns too bright. So we take a step back, not out of distance, but out of alignment. For people like us, joy often speaks softly. It comes in smaller, slower ways, the satisfaction of understanding something new, the comfort of a deep conversation, the peace that settles after a long day. It's not the kind of happiness that needs to be shouted or shared to exist. It's quieter, steadier, and often more personal. We don't reject emotion, we just experience it differently. While others rise and fall with the waves of excitement, we find our flow in reflection, in noticing, in feeling without display. Still, it's hard not to wonder sometimes, am I missing something? When everyone around you seems moved by the same moment and you can't quite join in, it can make you feel like an outsider. But what if that difference isn't emptiness, but awareness? What if it's not that you lack passion, but that your passion has changed shape from seeking noise to seeking understanding? Maybe what they find in the crowd, you find in consciousness. We all connect differently, some through shared emotion, others through quiet understanding. Some find joy in shouting with others, some in simply noting the beauty of it all. Both are human, both are valid. The world needs the energy of the crowd and the awareness of the observer. Without one, there's no balance. So if you've ever felt calm while the world was cheering, don't mistake that calm for distance. You're not broken or detached. You're just wired for depth, not drama. You see life from another angle, one that values presence more than performance. You don't need the roar of a crowd to feel alive. You find meaning in the silence between the sounds. And in a world that moves too fast, that kind of awareness isn't weakness. It's wisdom, the quiet kind that allows you to see what others might miss. The patterns, the emotions, and the truth that always lives beneath the noise. People who don't watch football often share something deeper than just not liking sports. Their silence hides a way of thinking, one that values meaning over noise and reflection over reaction. These are 12 rare traits that often shape their inner world. 1. Independent thinker. People like this trust their own thoughts, even when everyone around them is caught up in the same excitement. For billions, football is more than a game. It's a symbol of belonging. But independent thinkers don't need that kind of crowd to feel connected. Their sense of direction comes from within, not from who wins or loses. They find satisfaction in understanding themselves and choosing their own path, even if it's quieter or different. It's not about being against the group. It's about staying honest with what feels true. When your inner compass is steady, you don't need anyone else to tell you where to go. You already know. And that quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't depend on applause, is what keeps them grounded when the world moves in waves of emotion. 2. Low need for external validation. Most people feel good when others cheer with them. It's human nature to want that kind of approval. But those who don't watch football often don't need that shared excitement to feel alive. Their happiness doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from within. They feel fulfilled when they learn something new, finish a project, or simply feel at peace with themselves. It's not pride or distance. It's just knowing that joy doesn't always need an audience. 3. Introspective mind. Instead of being swept up by the emotion of the game, they turn inward. Their thoughts are layered processing, observing, decoding feelings as they happen. Neuroscience calls this default mode network dominance, a state where the mind drifts toward introspection, daydreaming, and meaning-making. They experience the world through reflection, not reaction, and in that internal dialogue, they often discover truths that the noise of collective excitement hides. 4. Selective stimulation. For people like this, excitement has to carry meaning. They don't enjoy noise just for the sake of it. Constant cheering or chaotic energy can feel draining, not inspiring. They prefer moments that engage their mind, not just their senses. A deep conversation, a new idea, a quiet challenge, those things light them up more than a stadium ever could. It's not that they dislike fun, they just choose the kind that feels real. While others chase the rush of the crowd, they look for experiences that bring clarity, purpose, and peace. To them, excitement isn't about volume, it's about connection to something that truly matters inside. 5. High cognitive depth. Their minds don't stop at the surface, they naturally analyze, not to judge but to understand. While others watch a goal, they might think about teamwork, psychology, or the sociology of fandom itself. Their curiosity doesn't reject emotion, it dissects it. It's a trait linked with high openness to experience, one of the big 5 personality dimensions. Such people live not for constant excitement, but for cognitive richness. the satisfaction of connecting invisible dots. 6. Emotional sensitivity. Ironically, the quiet ones often feel the most. Crowds, noise, and intensity can overwhelm them, not because they're cold, but because their nervous system is finely tuned. Psychologists call this sensory processing sensitivity, when your brain notices and feels more detail in every experience. So when millions cheer, they feel that energy, almost too much. Their silence isn't disinterest, it's self-protection. Stillness is how they stay grounded. 7. Existential awareness. At some point, they start asking deeper questions. Why does this matter? What does victory change? Why do humans worship games as if they were life itself? That's existential awareness. The ability to step back from social narratives and ask what truly gives life meaning. For these people, the realization isn't cynical, it's freeing. Once they see the illusion, they start investing their emotions in what's real growth, love, purpose, creation. They haven't lost wonder, they've redirected it. 8. Authenticity over conformity. They don't fake enthusiasm to blend in. And that honesty can feel risky because small talk about football is often the social glue that holds everyday interactions together. But authenticity is their quiet rebellion. They would rather risk awkwardness than betray themselves. Psychologically, that's high self-concept clarity, knowing who you are and standing gently in it. Their calm confidence doesn't need to shout. It simply says, "This is me." 9. Creative orientation. Many who don't watch sports are deeply creative. They channel energy inward, turning observation into art, thought into design, silence into invention. Because creativity often flourishes in solitude, their avoidance of constant stimulation becomes fuel for originality. Studies show that people who spend more time in reflective solitude demonstrate higher divergent thinking, the cognitive foundation of creativity. Where the crowd celebrates motion, they celebrate imagination. 10. Inner autonomy. They guard their attention like a scarce resource. In a world built to monetize distraction, refusing to engage with mass excitement is a subtle act of freedom. They understand that attention is life's currency, and they spend it carefully. This is attentional sovereignty, the ability to decide what enters your mental space. Not watching football becomes symbolic, a statement that says, "I decide what matters to me." 11. Observational intelligence. The rapture of ancient. They see what others feel. When the stadium erupts, they notice patterns, how joy turns to rage, how unity flips to rivalry. It's almost anthropological, watching human behavior as if through glass. This trait connects to empathic accuracy, the ability to read emotional cues without being absorbed by them. They don't get lost in collective emotion because they're busy understanding it. Their calm is insight, not detachment. 12. Emotional resilience. There's strength in not needing stimulation to feel alive. While others ride the highs and lows of competition, they stay steady. Their happiness isn't conditional on external outcomes. Psychologists might call this low emotional volatility a stable affect system built on self-trust. It doesn't mean they don't feel deeply. It means they've learned to process emotion without losing balance. The thread that connects them across all 12 traits, one truth repeats. The less they need from the outside world, the more they hear from within. They're not escaping emotion, they're refining it. Not rejecting passion, but filtering it through awareness. In a culture that glorifies noise, they embody the quiet power of discernment. While the crowd chases collective ecstasy, they chase coherence. The peace that comes from being aligned with what truly matters. And in that way, not watching football isn't just about preference. It's a mirror of consciousness itself, a reminder that we all feel alive in different ways. For some, it's the roar of victory. For others, it's the sound of their own mind, thinking freely. There's a quiet kind of strength in the moments when we don't join the noise, when the crowd rises in cheers and we stay still. It's not emptiness we're feeling, it's awareness. That stillness gives us space to notice what's really happening underneath all the shouting. The wave of emotion passing from one person to another, the comfort of belonging, the way joy can so easily become identity. When you step back from the crowd, you start to see things most people miss, not because they're blind, but because excitement moves too fast for reflection. Silence doesn't mean we don't care. It just means we process emotion differently. Some people express passion by reacting, others by observing. For us, calm doesn't mean detachment, it means depth. It's the difference between being inside the storm and watching it from the shore. When we stop trying to feel what the world tells us to feel, we begin to recognize our own emotions, the ones that come from truth, not imitation. That's not coldness, that's clarity. There's wisdom that grows in quiet observation. When we pause instead of rush, when we breathe instead of shout, we begin to understand what's really unfolding, not just in others, but in ourselves. The crowd's excitement is real and beautiful, but it can also be a mask. It lets people forget themselves for a moment, merging into something bigger. And sometimes that escape is exactly what they need. But for those who stay still, the mask never fits. We crave meaning more than motion, honesty more than adrenaline. We'd rather understand why something matters than be swept up in the fact that it does. Of course, awareness can be lonely. Standing quietly while everyone else celebrates can make you feel like you're missing a vital human rhythm. You look around and wonder if you're disconnected or strange. But that calm isn't a gap in your humanity. It's a reflection of how deeply you experience life. You don't need the rush to feel alive. You feel it through understanding, through presence, through noticing the small things most overlook. That peace isn't a sign of distance. It's your mind finding balance. When the noise fades, awareness remains. You start to see the beauty and the irony of human emotion, how joy can unite, how belonging can divide, how passion can both create and destroy. You begin to realize that silence isn't the opposite of emotion, it's what allows emotion to make sense. It's the pause that turns experience into meaning. So if you've ever felt calm when the world was cheering, don't doubt yourself. You're not broken and you're not detached. You're just tuned to a different frequency, one that values perception over performance. You're not missing the moment, you're seeing it more clearly. You're not outside the story, you're reading between the lines. That quiet space inside you, the one that doesn't shout, doesn't rush, that's not emptiness, it's awareness. Because sometimes the truest kind of understanding doesn't make noise, it just listens. And in that stillness, we don't lose the world, we finally start to see it. For a long time, I used to fake excitement just to belong. I'd nod along when people talked about the big match, pretend I'd seen the highlights, laugh at the right times. It wasn't that I wanted to lie, I just didn't want to feel left out. Approval felt like safety. If everyone was cheering and I stayed quiet, it felt like something must be wrong with me. And so I tried to catch up to the noise. But no matter how loud I pretended to be, it never felt like my voice. Maybe you've done that too, smiling at things you didn't care about, trying to blend in when your heart wasn't there. We all do it in different ways. Some fake interest in sports, others in trends, careers, even relationships. We learn early that belonging buys us peace. But no one tells us how much of ourselves we spend trying to earn it. Awareness begins when we pause and ask, what if I stopped pretending? What if belonging wasn't something I had to chase? That question changes everything. Because the moment you stop performing for approval, your energy starts to come back. You start to realize that peace doesn't need an audience. It just needs honesty. Psychologists call this authentic self-alignment, the process of reconnecting what you feel inside with what you show on the outside. When those two things finally match, something incredible happens. The tension fades. You no longer need to force excitement or explain your calm. You realize you were never lacking passion. You were just tuned to a quieter frequency. It's not about rejecting the world. It's about meeting it on your terms. You can still love people who love the game, still share in their joy. You just don't have to borrow it. You don't have to measure your humanity by how loudly you cheer. True connection doesn't come from matching emotions, it comes from understanding them. And sometimes, understanding requires silence. The truth is, we live in a culture that worships performance. Every emotion is broadcast, every moment has to be shared. The louder you are, the more alive you seem. But life isn't a contest for volume. You can live deeply without being visible, love quietly without being loud. The world might overlook that kind of peace, but it's the kind that lasts. So if you've ever been the quiet one in a room full of noise, know this: your calm is not a flaw, it's awareness. It's your mind protecting what matters, your focus, your attention, your authenticity. And the more you honor it, the freer you become. You don't need to shout with the crowd to belong to humanity. Belonging isn't found in agreement, it's found in truth. And truth doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up in the choices you make when no one's watching, in the calm you carry when everyone else is chasing chaos. The next time someone asks, "How can you not like football?" Smile. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't have to defend your quiet. Just know that while the world is busy reacting, you're busy understanding. While others are chasing the next high, you're learning to stay steady. Because real peace doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from feeling whole, even when you stand apart. Awareness gives you that wholeness. It turns loneliness into clarity and difference into strength. And in a world addicted to attention, maybe the most radical thing you can do is stay aware without needing to be approved. On nights when the world gathers for a big game, I often see two stories unfolding at once. Outside, the lights, the cheers, the heartbeat of millions moving as one, and inside, the stillness, the quiet pulse of awareness. Both are beautiful. One finds meaning in togetherness, the other in solitude. One loses itself in the crowd, the other finds itself through observation. If you've ever been that quiet observer, sitting by the window while the city trembles with celebration, you might know the feeling. It's not sadness, not indifference, just a kind of calm that doesn't join the noise. You watch joy but feel it differently. You see connection, but yours happens quietly without spectacle. You don't reject emotion, you experience it in slower, deeper ways, not through shouting, but through seeing. Not through reacting, but through understanding. That's not distance, that's depth. Psychologists say we grow most during moments of reflection, not chaos. When the brain rests in awareness, it starts to heal itself. That's why silence feels like medicine, not an absence of life, but its recovery. The observer in you isn't avoiding the world. You're interpreting it, decoding it, learning from it. You notice the patterns, the rise and fall of passion, the beauty and blindness of belonging, the fragile line between unity and conformity. You see it all, not from above, but from within. There's no right or wrong way to feel alive. Some hearts beat faster in the crowd, others steady themselves in quiet rooms. The world needs both the voices that cheer and the eyes that notice. But maybe, for some of us, our place was never in the stands. Maybe we belong in the spaces between sound, where awareness turns into understanding, because paying attention deeply and quietly is still a form of participation. Watching consciously is still a way of living fully. Sometimes I think life itself is a larger game, one without scoreboards or trophies. Every day we choose where to place our attention, what to give our emotional energy to. Some chase victory, others chase meaning. Some find joy in the noise, others in the silence that follows. Both paths are human. Both say, I care. The only mistake is giving your care to something that doesn't nourish your soul. So when the next match begins and the city lights up again, I'll still hear the cheers echoing through the air. I'll smile because joy in any form is beautiful, but I'll also stay where I am, calm, grounded, grateful for the quiet, because peace doesn't need to be loud to be real, and awareness doesn't need to be seen to matter. Maybe the real game isn't the one played on the field, but the one unfolding inside us, the constant balancing act between belonging and being, between noise and clarity. Maybe those of us who stay still aren't missing anything. Maybe we're simply seeing more. Because in the end, not watching football isn't about disconnection, it's about consciousness. It's the small, powerful act of choosing where your attention goes and what you let define you. And if you've ever chosen reflection over reaction, calm over chaos, you've already won something far greater than a game. So to every quiet observer out there, you are not alone. The world may roar outside, but inside you, something sacred is taking place. A quiet revolution of awareness. Keep it. Protect it. Because the mind that can stay still when the world trembles, that mind has already understood what the game was all along. Before you go, take a moment to breathe. If this spoke to something quiet inside you, stay a while. This channel is for those who think deeply, feel softly, and see the world differently. Here, we explore the calm beneath the noise, the psychology of awareness and authenticity. Subscribe if you want to keep walking this quiet path together, because understanding yourself is where every real journey begins.